It's 1889 in Cuba, Havana. After winning the first World Championship match, Wilhelm Steinitz got challenged from Russian strong player Mikhail Chigorin. They decided to play 20 games, even though the match was finished after 17 games, and the winner, whoever crosses 10.5 points, becomes a world champion. Mikhail Chigorin was one of the latest chess players from Romantic era, so he always loved to go for some sacrifices and play some beautiful games, and Wilhelm Steinitz was one of the contrary. He always preferred to take the sacrificed pieces or the pawns, keep the position defended, and simply win the game later on. So the game starts with e4, e5. Chigorin plays with the white pieces against Steinitz, and after getting to bishop c4, bishop c5, Italian variation, nowadays people play more frequently either c3 or d3. But at that time it was famous to play Evans' Gambit with b4. The main intention is to give up the pawn and get the space in the center and accelerate the development. Bishop takes b4, c3, bishop a5 was played. There are a lot of theoretical aspects nowadays, but it has not been played on top level that frequently in classical chess, because there are a couple of variations as black how they can equalize it. One of them is just to go for bishop to e7, and after d4 there is one annoying move, knight a5. If knight takes, there is knight c4, d5, which at the end leads to quite normal position for black. But we are not here to dive into the theory, therefore let's just follow the flow. After c3, bishop goes on a5. The reason why it goes on a5 is because ideally, if black moves it on a bad square like c5, white wants to gain a lot of space in the center and challenge the pawns, fast development, and amazing pieces which can strike at any moment in the center. So after c3, bishop a5, because in case of d4, pawn takes, the pawn is pinned to the king, so they cannot recover it back. Therefore, white goes for short castle first, which is a logical approach indeed. We don't actually need the variations here, so after short castle, black goes with queen f6. He used to put his queen on d6 square, so after playing d4, he goes with knight to e7, and after bishop g5, queen ends up on d6. It's very weird placement for the queen, but it actually does the job. It keeps everything under control, and it's not that badly placed piece either. So after that, white responds with queen b3, and here we have short castle. White needs to finish development quickly, not with rook d1, it's just better to go with knight a3 in order to play knight b5 next. In this match, there are several games when Chigorin even managed to win on early stages, and they have played the same opening over and over again, but this time he decided to go with rook d1, not the most accurate move, which allows black to put the bishop on b6, d takes c5. I would say Steinitz will be more than happy to see something similar. Maybe he can even try something like queen g6. Later on, going after the e5 pawn, e4 pawn is under attack, knight a5, knight c4 is in there. Not the most pleasant position. So after rook d1, bishop b6, d takes c5 actually was played in the game, and after queen g6, instead of developing the pieces with knight e2 and so on, he decides to go for queen a3. It takes the knight on e7. Rook e8, even though there were better options than that, such as, let's say one of them is just to go for knight e5. And if white decides to take on e7, there is knight f3, very annoying. The bishop is under attack, and if the knight captures here, there is queen g5. I'm not exactly sure, it seems like they both missed this variation or whatever they had it in mind at the time, but black quickly played rook e8. After that, knight e2, regular developing move, d6, and here comes the historical moment. After a couple of trades, black gave up the pawn back in order to finish the development. White's pieces are not really shining as much, and g6 queen is quite well placed. Bishop g4, bishop goes back into the defense, activating the rook, and at some point threatening to go with d5, breakthrough in the center, and why not actually? All the pieces are ready for the challenge, so what's the main issue? And guess what happened here? I know that a lot of you expect that World Championship matches will be with extremely high accuracies, and everybody tends to play like that in the matches, but there were many blunders as well, especially at that times. The Chigorin here goes with h3. After bishop f3, knight takes f3, there is queen g3. He simply missed that the pawn is pinned to the king. So at the end of the day, they are also humans and they make the mistakes. I know we want to idealize the world champions, but they do make the mistakes. So for king h1, it was just a desperate try. Couple of moves, queen goes on g6, rook d3, and queen f6. I'm not exactly sure why Chigorin kept playing. Actually, after losing a piece, I guess it was quite emotional moment and he just wants to sort of calm down and not resign immediately. In that case, the pressure is a little bit less. But in any case, it's World Championship match, so knight goes on g6. Whenever you have an extra piece, the only simple thing what you can do is just to trade off the pieces as soon as possible. After knight g5, knight e5, it X everything at once, and rook f3 was played. Chigorin was still hoping for something connected to f7, but there is nothing. After knight takes f3, bishop goes on f7, queen takes f7, and here, even if knight takes, the queen is under attack, so after g takes f3, black responds with queen to c4, no chances of getting any kind of queen d5, knight f7 opportunities. Smothered mate, it's not really happening. Sometimes I might make the blunders, but not that much. And after that disappointing match, actually Chigorin lost. So Steinitz won 10 games, lost 6, and they only made 1 draw. And the funny fact was that for the first 16 games, literally there were no draws. I know it's quite rare for nowadays because there are too many draws in the World Championship matches, but only last game was drawn, even though actually Steinitz was winning. But by making the 17th game a draw, he had the 4 points lead, only 3 games remaining, which made him automatically the second time world champion. So there was no point for him to continue fighting or getting another point, because at that time they were not even counting the rating points. So that's how Steinitz managed to maintain his crown and beat one of the strongest Russian Soviet Union player, Mikhail Chigorin. By the way, they will be playing another match later on, but let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this content, give it a thumbs up, the videos, and tell me which World Championship matches you would like to see in the future. And well, whenever we reach 10,000 subscribers, there will be a free giveaway video courses from my website.